So namaste everybody, and welcome to part 2 of Atisha's Advice from the Heart. So last week when we looked at part 1, we did 3 verses on how we should find a teacher and how we should put all those teachings into practice. So today we're going to look at the mind, how we can guard our mind from disturbing things. So we're going to look for from verse 4 to verse 7. So verse 4 says, avoid places that disturb your mind and also remain where your virtues increase. So we have to guard our mind. It's our mind and nobody else can guard it for us. And sometimes the best thing we can do is to keep ourselves away from places that are going to disturb our minds. So this verse said that anything that disturbs, any place that disturbs your mind, you should try to keep away from and just go to places that are going to increase your virtue. So it means maybe we shouldn't be going to places where people are drinking too much alcohol or taking illegal drugs. Anywhere where we see things that is going to disturb our minds. You see, once we've seen something, once we've gone to a place and we've seen something, then we can't unsee it. Now, we may be able to push it into the back of our mind so we don't think about it very often, but it's there. That seed has been planted. And so in Buddhism, we talk about 8 different consciousnesses. So the 5 consciousness everybody knows about, like the seeing, smelling, tasting, hearing, and touching. And in Buddhism, we also say the mind is a consciousness. So it's conscious in ways that it looks at thoughts and dreams and hopes and visualizations. Then that's the 6th consciousness. Then there's another consciousness which is like a sense of self, like an ego consciousness. And the 8th consciousness is what we call a store consciousness. So it isn't actually one place in the brain, but whatever you take in through those 5, 6 senses, you plant a seed in that store consciousness. Now, whether you don't see anything or act in that way again, that seed is just going to stay there dormant, but it stays there as a potential. So if you keep going to places that are going to disturb your mind, then it means that you're watering that potential. So that potential then becomes a pattern, it becomes a habit. So we have to be careful exactly what we're looking at and places we're going to, because if they are disturbing our mind, then it's not a good place for us to be. So that's what the first verse is trying to tell us, is to be careful about the places we go to and try to remain in places that increase our virtue. So places where you're not going to come across things that are going to completely disturb your mind. So along the same lines, the 5th verse says, until you attain stable realization, worldly amusements are harmful. Therefore, abide in a place where there are no such distractions. Okay, it's not saying here that all worldly amusements are harmful, but there are some worldly amusements that are harmful for us. And again, we have to ensure that we're guarding our mind. So it says, until we attain stable realization. So, I mean, when we've awakened our mind, or even when our mind is stable, more stable, then of course we can go to any place because our mind is so stable that it's not going to be disturbed by wherever we go because we've put this guard around it. But until we do that, until we have a stable mind, still we have a mind that has this stable realization, it's going to be very difficult for us to be all wrapped up in worldly amusements. So again, it's up to you what you class as really disturbing places and disturbing amusements, but you will know. It is your mind, and you will know what is disturbing you. So it isn't saying like run away and don't look at the world because it's a bad place, because I mean that's not going to be helpful for us. But what it's saying is just be careful until we've reached a certain level with our practice, until we've got that stable mind, until we've got a mind that is calm, and a mind that is able to be protected and not be disturbed, then we should be careful about the places and the amusement that we have. So have fun. I mean, I like to have fun. I like to go to different places. I like a good laugh, but I ensure that I never go to places that disturb. And actually, I never go out at night when it's dark unless I have somewhere special to go to. Because again, when it becomes nighttime, this is when all the those worldly amusements and those places just seem to spring into life, and they're the ones that are going to disturb your mind. If it's okay for you to go to somewhere and it's not disturbing, then great. Remember, we're trying to become a virtuous person. So again, what makes a virtuous person? So I mean, there's a lot of debate on that. Obviously, I mean, again, it's probably a personal thing, but for me, I think a virtuous person is a person who wants to help people and tries to do their best to help and not harm that person. And they try to be the best possible person they can be. So if they can't help somebody, then at least don't harm that person. And then look and work on yourself and try to make yourself a good person. And the way to do that is to try to minimize the things that are going to disturb our mind, the things that are going to distract us, take us away from our path. I mean, it takes so much effort to go along a spiritual path. And we don't want to make it even harder for ourselves by going to places and disturbing that mind. That mind is your mind, and it's your mind that needs to guard it. You need to put like a force field around it. So all these things don't go in. And once they're in, once they're there, then of course they're going to be stored there. And you see, this is why I disagree with parents who say that, oh, it's okay for my son to play violent video games because it's only a game and it's not real. But they're planting that seed. They're planting the seed of violence. They're planting that seed inside of them that it's okay to shoot somebody and blow somebody's head off or whatever it is that the game is doing. So for me, it is really important that we have that guard and we watch our mind. I spent many, many years trying to guard my mind, trying to, you know, work on being a virtuous person and try to keep away from all those things that are disturbing the mind. It's a difficult thing. I understand it because I've been through it. So I know that it isn't easy. And carrying on the same vein, the verse 6 says, and this one may be slightly even harder for us to do, avoid friends who cause us to increase delusions and rely upon those who increase our virtue. This you should take to heart. So he added that extra line there, Atisha, to say, this you should take to heart. So he hasn't said that in any of the other verses. So this one, he really wants us to concentrate and think about. Avoid friends who cause you to increase your delusions and rely upon those who increase your virtues. So I know that sometimes we've had friends from childhood, and as we've grown, we're sort of kind of going off in different directions here. And you know, you're going on a spiritual path, but they're still on the path of having great fun and getting drunk and going out and having great times. So And we think that because they're our friends and because we've been with them for many years, then we should keep going with these people. But friendship is like everything else in the world, it's impermanent. And I'm not saying that you should go and just get rid of all your friends. But I mean, over a period of time, we drift. So if you feel that this person is now going in a different direction to what you want to go in, then drift, let it drift. It's okay. On the odd occasion, you can call them or you can meet them. But if these people are increasing your delusions, if they are taking you down a wrong path, then you've got to be really careful. And can you call them friends if they're people who are taking you in a wrong direction, who are actually taking you away from being virtuous? Is that a friend? So I think we need to look at our friendships carefully and see who can go down the path with me, who can go along this path, who's a good person to walk along the path with. Because if we find those people, they are like what we was talking about in part one about the spiritual friends. These are your spiritual friend. A spiritual friend is somebody that is going to help you go along your path, walk along your path. So these are the type of people that we need to be befriending, the type of people that we need to be hanging around with. Remember that the places you go to, the things you do, and the people you are with, all of those are going to disturb your mind. All of those can take you off in the wrong direction. And when we get in a group of people and they're all doing something and we're doing something else, it was like many years ago when my friends were going out for a drink and it was a lovely summer's evening, so we'd go and sit outside. So they would all be having, pints of beer and whatever, and I would always have my cranberry juice. So, you feel like the odd one out, and in the end, you have to ask yourself, is it helping? Are these people helping me? Are they helping me along the path? Or are they pulling me away from the path? So these are difficult questions. And verse 4, 5, and 6 are really difficult for us to think about because we get so wrapped up in our world. Our mind always wants to be entertained. So we're always looking for things that are entertaining us. But if those things that are entertaining the mind are also taking us down the wrong path, if they're also increasing our delusions, and here our delusions means that we don't understand the way the world is, we're deluded. We think, even though in the back of our mind we think we understand impermanence, we still think in terms of permanence even though every time we've got attached to something and that something changes or goes or something happens, we suffer. But again, we just go back and we still get attached to things. And the way that we don't really understand or we don't think in terms of that things have consequences, your actions have consequences, and things come about through a whole series of causes and conditions. So these are our delusions. And when we're with people who just increase those delusions, it makes it harder for us to walk down that path. It makes it harder for us to actually, become a spiritual person because we're taking one step forward and one step back and then two step forwards and one step back and we're just really not getting anywhere because we're not surrounding ourselves with the right people. So we have to ensure that the places we go to are not disturbing our minds. We have to ensure that the amusement that we seek out doesn't disturb our minds. And we have to ensure that our friends are not disturbing our mind and causing even more delusions for us. The final verse, verse 7 says, Since there is never a time when worldly activities come to an end, limit those activities. So you see, worldly activities are never going to stop. People are always going to be looking for some sort of worldly activity. Of course, we are, but they're never going to end. It's like our desires are never going to end. And the more that we keep feeding that monster, then the bigger the monster comes. So we have to ensure that we're not going to the wrong places with the wrong people doing the wrong things, and understand that these things are not just suddenly going to disappear. We have to ensure that we make the changes ourselves, because who can change? I mean, who can guard your mind if you don't guard it? I mean, who can stop you going to these places and meeting with these people and doing these worldly activities? Only you can stop yourself. And the only chance you've got of stopping yourself is by going down a spiritual path and understanding that all these worldly things, all these entertaining things are great. They really entertain us for such a short period of time. And then after that, because we've had such great fun and now it's ended, now what happens is that we become dissatisfied, dissatisfied, discontented. And the reason for that is because all of these activities outside of us are just short lived, fleeting moments of amusement and entertainment. If you really want to find that lasting happiness, if you really want to find some lasting peace of mind, some inner joy, inner tranquility, then we have to go in and we have to look at ourselves and try to change ourselves. But also that whatever we're doing outside has to be virtuous. Because if we're not doing virtuous things, it's no good sitting down and meditating for a few hours a day and looking at yourself and trying to become the best possible person. Inside you're working out all these things, and then you get up and then you go out and you do unvirtuous things. Your mind becomes deluded because of your friends you're keeping, or the places you're going to, or the entertainment that you're seeking. All of these things are okay for short moments of enjoyment, but then that is all they are. And if that's all you're looking for in life, then okay, it's fine. It's a choice. If that's what you're looking for, then great, go ahead. But you're never going to find that true inner peace and happiness by doing that. So you need to be thinking about these points. Think about, your friends. Which friends are helping you here and which friends are not helping you? Also, look at the places you're going to. Are they disturbing your mind? Because if they are, that probably isn't the best place for you to be. And the entertainment, the worldly activities, those amusements that you seek out, again, you need to stop and just think, are these helping me? Are these helping me to become the person that I think I want to become? We all have this picture of ourselves that this is who I think I am, or this is who I want to be. But we need to work on that. We need to, if we really want to become that person, then we have to be really careful about guarding our minds. Just remember that it is your mind, you're the one that has to guard it. So I'd like you to just, over the coming days when you get time, just to stop and reflect on these points a moment. Reflect about your friends, reflect about the places you go to, reflect about the amusement, the entertainment, the worldly activities that you seek out. Reflect on them and be truthful to yourself and see, where do I need to make these changes? And like Atisha said, take it to heart. Really think about it. If you want to be that best possible person, then this is the opportunity for you to start looking and changing and guarding your mind. It isn't about pulling yourself away from the world and burying your head in the sand. It isn't about that at all. But it is about being careful about places you go. There are certain places you don't need to go to, certain people you don't need to go with. So spend a bit of time over. So if you have any questions, then please put them in the comments, and then I'll get round to answering sometime later on this evening. So thank you for joining me, and I'll be back next Sunday at the same time with more verses from Atisha's Advice from the Heart. But before I go, I want to tell you about 15 guided meditation videos that I've done in a series on compassion. It is free. You can just go and you can watch each video, do each meditation practice to really help you understand and help you really build up that feeling of compassion in you. So, as I say, the course is completely free. So, if you go to round.glass/Yeshe Rabgye, one word, so round.glass/Yeshe Rabgye, that will take you directly to the course. Now, the app isn't available in all countries, but if you use that round.glass /Yeshe Rabgye, it will either take you to the app or to the browser, whichever you can use in your country. But the whole course is free. So I'd encourage you to go have a look at it. The videos are like 15 minutes long, something like that. They're all beautifully shot. I mean, it is one, it's such a lovely course. So I encourage you to go. So thank you so much for spending this time with me on this Sunday evening in India. Wherever you are, good morning or good afternoon or good evening. Thank you, and stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Namaste. If you enjoyed this video, then press the subscribe button now, and don't forget to share the video with your friends.